So I welcome everyone to CE20 Building Systems Design, which will be covered in the fourth quarter of the second semester. That means it's from the month of March until the end of April. So I'm Jefferson Ramos Valiente Jr., your course instructor for this subject. For those who don't know me yet, I'm a faculty member of the Civil Engineering Department and concurrently the program coordinator of the Disaster Risk Environment and Management at XUERC. And I've been teaching in the university for about 7 years, since 2014. And this is the first time that I'll be teaching this subject, but I'm well versed with the building construction design, as I also do professional consultancy and advisement to clients in terms of building construction. So just to introduce you to the basic description of the course, this is a 3-unit lecture and 3-unit laboratory course. And having said that, because this is a quarterly schedule, let me just set up my other device. Okay, so this is a quarterly course, and when you have a 3-unit course, that means that we meet twice in a week. And I promise to have at least one synchronous schedule for this subject. If ever I don't get to schedule one, we can have a joint session for the other 3 sections para po isa lang ka session ato i-deliver for the rest of the students. So this is a 3-unit lecture which focuses on building construction, and we target to cover 8 of the basic requirements for that aspect. First would be on life safety. That includes fire safety and zoning constraints on site planning. Having said that, we need to design our structures. And for this course, you will design a house, a 2-story house in particular, where you consider fire safety requirements and the proper zoning of these structures, whether it is for a land conversion or if you're trying to build on a subdivision. Second, we will deal with architectural and building service systems. Architectural, by its description itself, means the spacing requirements and some of the basic aesthetic requirements in a building. Though we are targeting that you can build your own designs later, but please do note that you need to work with an architect soon if you ever want to have your plans approved by the Office of the Building Official. And also, building service systems from other allied professions. That means plumbing for master plumbers, electrical for professional electrical engineers, vertical transportation, this is for mechanical engineers, and which also includes HVAC. That means that is the ventilation, such as air conditioning systems in a structure. Next is security and fire protection. If ever your house or structure needs to have warning systems and fire retarding systems, you need to consult with a professional electronics engineer. So we'll try to teach you how to prepare these basic plans, but take note that you need to coordinate with architects and allied engineering professionals for you to approve or finally approve a plan, and also for legal boundaries of each professions. Third, we'll discuss the different material types that you need for construction, from architectural requirements, say the tiles that you need, the paint that you need, or even the lighting. For construction, you also need to consider structural requirements, say how strong the concrete will be, what type of cement you will be using, or even the grading of your coarse and fine aggregates. Fourth, we will also discuss the sustainability and life cycle analysis. That means that our structures have this timeline. And by the end of this timeline, we need to design and also consider how the materials can be reused, recycled, and be renewed for other purposes. Fifth would be on accessibility. There are boundaries and there are code specifications on how do we design structures for persons with disabilities. So by accessibility, we want to accommodate their needs, whether there's a blind person using that stair, or if there's someone who have difficulty to hear and they can still use that building. Six would be on technical documentation and outline specifications. Whatever you design, you need to describe it in words. And by using the specifications, you give due description on what will be the dimensions or what will be the minimum requirements for that material. So like in concrete, we say that the mixture should be, say, in every sack of cement, you get 2 sacks of coarse aggregate, and with that, you have ample amount of water. So all these specifications need to be stated in a document called the specifications. 7 would be building enclosure systems. Building enclosure systems, these are your materials that you want to cover in your structure. So it could be a wall, it could be a cladding system, and this could be for purposes of heat and ventilation, or in purposes where you want to protect your indoors from the elements, say extreme heat, extreme rainfall, or even extreme movements of the wind. Also, we try to consider interior finish systems. So when we say interior finish systems, these are the arrangements of the interior structures. But we don't want to compete with other professions because in the Philippines, interior designers are also handling this one. So we want to teach you the basics of this so that later you may collaborate with an IT designer and perhaps tell your client that they can further improve their aesthetic requirements and spacing requirements if ever they consult with an interior designer. So the lecture course will focus on these systems and will try to adapt building architectural designs, materials, construction techniques, and foster the skills required to adapt a building system approach with compliant to the National Building Code of the Philippines and its corresponding referral codes. So you have this thick document. You need to read this document for you to understand the contents. So it's the National Building Code of the Philippines and other referral codes. So in lecture, we'll discuss the basics of this one, and hopefully you can apply this to your laboratory plates. In lecture, these are the major requirements. We have online quizzes, assignments, oral recitation or reporting, seat works, and consultations. Now, the grade components for these requirements are already found in eLearn. So I'll show you later where you can find this reference for further information on the contents of the course. Next, the codes and standards. I invite you to collect copies of this one, whether it's hardbound or those that can be found over the internet. So make sure you have the National Building Code of the Philippines, the Architectural Code, the National Structural Code of the Philippines, the Electrical Code of the Philippines, the Fire Code, the National Plumbing Code, and the Sanitation Code. You need all of these references and standards to make a plan so it passes the requirements. If you ever make a plan that doesn't follow all of these codes, then that will not be accepted in any approving body in the Philippines. And usually you submit it to the office of the building official. So dili dawaton kung wala na nakapasar sa standard. In laboratory, you will also draw your plans, and there are 2 major requirements. First, you need to generate the building and apply these tools into softwares. Primarily, we will use SketchUp. And for everyone's convenience, we will use the web-based version of SketchUp. So there's an option for you not to install the software. Okay, not many laptops can function with the heavy tools of SketchUp. But with the web-based version, you have this leverage of working even though your laptops don't have these specifications. But if you will use AutoCAD, you really need to make do of the minimum requirements. So sa AutoCAD, medyo taas-taas siya requirement. And the AutoCAD version, you will be using the education license that is valid for a year. So there's a link actually in eLearn where you can register. I've added that, so later I'll show how you can access them. But just make sure that you have these two softwares. Without these tools, I don't know if you can succeed in the subject or even pass the subjects. Okay, many of the laboratory exercises needs to be drawn in SketchUp or in AutoCAD. Okay, the details needs to be very accurate. So using digital tools will make use of so a very professional work, especially that we will do design and modeling for your projects. For laboratory, we target to have and cover 10 laboratory exercises. First is an as-built plan. An as-built plan is a drawing of an actual or built structure. So I'll discuss later how you can do and convert the measurements to a drawing plan. Second is a topographic map. You need to use a topographic detail or do field surveys. Okay, para makabalo mo kung ang structure will need to do filling, meaning magdugang baka o kita, or if you just utilize the terrain and add another floor. So this was the case in one of my projects where the client did not inform that the lot that they acquired from the developer is actually a 30-degree slope. So a 30-degree slope, or rather 30% slope, not 30 degrees kaya steep kaya na. A 30% slope means nga really siya flat. So when we went there, at first meeting mo, there were actually vegetation or kanang sagbot ba. And from that survey, wala po nag-inform na ng client na it's a 30% slope. So when we cleared the site, dito lang nakita nga their plan of having a 2-story building with an attic won't fit in that slope. So we had to retrofit the design nga lugangan na lang siya o basement. And that incurs additional cost. Okay, wala man to sa design, wala man to sa akong i-approvahan. So it was a different contract for constructing the basement. So the architect at that part did her job by designing an attic with a basement. So that was also a challenging project. Okay, with the basement, we had to think of what uses will that basement be for. And we decided na with proper consultation sa client, pwede na ito gamitin nila as the music room. And then adjacent to that would be the main quarter. Kaya ganun sila katabang. So, yeah, na-solve man nun to ma problem, but it would have helped if the client was very transparent in the first place. Yeah, the slope of that terrain is kanang difficult. So kung na-inform kami ahead of time with the topographic map, we could have better prepared the design. So muna nga mo encourage you that you create a topographic detail or map of your project site. Third is the site description and site development plan. This is basically indicating where your building or construction is relative to other structures, the transportation lifeline facility, the sources of water, and the orientation. Okay, na may limit sa code nga asan imo pwede i-face imuhang structure. So, basic to that, dili siya dapat makalikod sa dalan. It should face the road. Or, it should have proper spacing from different or adjacent structures. Kaya dili pwede nga pid ka kaayo at least 0 meter ang distance from the property line. That's not allowed. You should create a firewall or create proper distancing from your boundary line. So, ato nag-discuss sa site description and site development plans. Fourth is a geodetic or lot plan. A geodetic plan is as a technical description of the sizes and the orientation of the lot boundaries. So we will use bearings. So a little bit of reviews in your surveying. Kung saan man ang bearings para makakompute og area. So it's only a small area for your sake na i-calculate, but just make sure that your boundary is how it appears in that description. Okay, kung gilapas ka sa imong silingan na isod na ang bayad dito sa construction site. So you need to prepare these things and be very accurate when computing for the distances. So we will do a geodetic plan or lot plan for that. Fifth is an architectural plan. An architectural plan shows you how the building will look like when it's finished. Also, it shows the distances and the spacing inside and outside of the structure. So I'll show you some samples later of how an architectural plan will look like. 6, for midterm, I would like to collect a civil or structural plan with some structural calculations if possible for your structure. And because you will be designing a 2-story house, you need to compute for the sizing of the columns, the beams, the floor, and how the reinforcing bars will be located. We'll also design your spacing for walls, and also in certain cases, if there's a need to consult for a structural engineer. Okay, na may limitation good sa unsay ma-design sa civil engineer lang. Like, it should be less than 3-story building. If you go higher, so kinala na structural engineer na design na. And what is a structural engineer? Basically, someone who has graduate studies in structures and has proper professional affiliation. So belong sa mga association of structural engineers in the Philippines. So, or a certified structural engineer from PICE. And we will discuss how you can become one if you plan to do that trajectory, and what will be the limits of your license. 7 is a plumbing plan. So nasa plumbing plan, this shows us the piping systems. So asa man mo agi ang pipe, then unsa ang tubig na iyang i-carry ana. If it's potable water, if it's wastewater, or if where will be your septic tank located. And in certain cases, you also need to design how the storm water from your roof will be conveyed from your roofing material down to the ground. So you need to specify those. Okay, na may boundary ana sa law, maahalin hindi mo na pwede kung i-dispose. Okay, you cannot release your waste directly to the ground. You need to treat them first. And we'll discuss what will be the technologies to use for treatment and how you can position them relative to the location of the house. Next is an electrical, which contains power and lighting plan, which also includes another page called the electronic plan. So sa may sulod ani. Electrical plans show us how many outlets there are, how many lighting systems, where are the switches located, and what's the house capacity in terms of loading. So pila man na ang iyahang kuryente nga gamiton. So it should be shown in an electrical plan. And then later, we'll also add up an electronics plan. So this shows us where will be the cabling for internet, telephone lines, and even for cable sa imuhang kanang communication lines, if you ever have that. Then asa na siya ibutang. So kung gusto ka, tibuok balayan mo na yung signal TV, so ibo kita siya kuha ng electronics plan. Or kung naka-fire alarm, kay electronic system na. So you need to consult an electrical and electronics engineer for that. 9 is a specification. The specification is a description of the materials. So across all plans, from your structural, architectural, electrical, down to the plumbing, specify yun mo kung sa mga brand, kung sa type, kung sa color, or even kung sa strength requirements. So it should be signed and sealed by either an architect or a civil engineer. Then towards the end, we need to require you a building permit and occupancy permit. Para makabalo mo, di mo magali-galihan kung magplano na unsa din ang building permit. Dayon, kanang unsa pud ang fee. Kay di man na libre ang plano. Kung natay mga kapamilya or amigo, may sila libre, pero marabitaw na. No. The name that's placed there, your name, is your liability. And you have 15 to 20 years in case something happens in that structure. That's under your name and you're giving it for free. So that's an issue. So we'll have a discussion on how you can limit your involvement in any project. Like when you want consultancy free, but putting your name on that with a signature, that's no longer free. Okay? You're paying taxes. You're paying fees for renewal of your licenses. You're paying CPD points, diba? And you give it for free. I guess not. So you need to properly value yourself through a dummy building permit and occupancy permit. They each have different fees. Lahi ang building permit, lahi ang occupancy permit, lahi pud ang plano nga fee. So pwede siguro ilibre ni mo ang drawing, pero pag abot sa building permit, no. Kaya mo pirma man ka. You put a seal on it, diba? A dry seal indicating your name and your PRC license. So we'll show you how you can do the process for that and also the corresponding limits of your involvement. And all laboratory exercises should be layouted in an A3 size paper. So I'll also teach you how you can change the paper size in AutoCAD or in SketchUp for you to make a submission of your plates. So the laboratory exercises needs to be submitted in a plate format. Katong dako, dili itong pareha sa drawing 1 na gamay. We will use A3, mas dako-dako siya. But this time, you need to draw it digitally. Sa among time, we were the first in the 2008 curriculum. We were the first one to be required to draw the building plans using AutoCAD. Prior to us, they had to do it manually. So, gabilaran nila ng drawing room na una sa CIT at the 3rd floor. Dira na mga tulog kay manual good. Doingon nimo using katong technical pen. But when we entered na with the new curriculum, that's the first time that digital versions were allowed. So, na lang isang mga balay, ginamit yung laptop. Or during class hours, we go to the laboratory. Okay? Ang computer laboratory at the time was only found in the CIT building. Now, that's the Favor Hall. And the student center. Dira lang ang laboratory. So, see, you're very lucky now na nanagaling mo laptop or kanang computers at home where you can do your work. And next to that, we need to scrutinize your work every time. So it's different from C23 where you only need to submit your compilations. Here, we need to scrutinize each plate. So as much as possible, you submit them on the week. But I guess there will be some limitations in terms of connection. So I can add or indicate that the deadline will be March 31 for the midterms and April 30 for the finals. But please do note that you are encouraged to submit them during the week. Kaya para nga na ay enough time ang instructor na mag-comment on your work. If ever you need to change, to add something, if pag-abot sa finals, whatever that you submit will be graded again as final exam. So kung naangkay kulang, wala mo na-apply, wala na kumintan, well, magamay mo ang grade or yung points na. So muna siya ang sa laboratory exercises na pulo ka buo ang atong i-collect. Next, sample outputs that I would like to say a minimum standard of the work of a student. So this is an example of an architectural plan with a site development plan. So you see here, the architectural page shows the structure when it's done or how the artist would like to depict the structure when it's finished. So this is a perspective of that plan. And then you also show where it is located relative to the road, the other neighbors, and also relative to the whole subdivision, if that's the subdivision, or if it's located in a barangay. You also need to draw a ground floor plan like this one, where you indicate where will be the living room, the bedroom, the entrance, the exit of that house, and also show the longitudinal sections. Okay, that's important in indicating the spacing requirements. Next is an architectural plan showing the different elevations. So you need to show from the front, the back, or shall we say rear, the left and the right side, and also the longitudinal section if ever you need to cut the building into two. So these are shown. And I'll teach you how you can create these drawings using SketchUp. But you will first use the free version online, but later you need to make use of the kanang desktop version where you can download. So whether you use the 1 year free license, that's okay. If you somehow use also the crap version, I don't encourage it. Okay, there's a probability that you get the virus and every time that you use a keygen or na malware. So nara ninyo, it's at your own risk na gamitan ninyo na siya. Then, pag nagamit mong keygen mong delete na, hindi mo ma-update ang SketchUp kasi yung latest na version. So masyado mo gamit na lang mag-register, balag 1 year ang free. So please make use of that. So that's for the sample outputs on architectural plans. Next, for electrical, this is how electrical plans, just a snippet of it, kanang small version lang eh. This is a power and lighting layout. This shows the location of the switches, the panel boards, and also the wiring. So in a schematic diagram, this is how it look like. But in reality, follow na siya sa mga kanang edges, beams, columns, or itagot na siya in a drop ceiling. So I'll teach you how to make the basic drawings, but later please consult with an electrical engineer. Okay, they are the ones who can sign and approve that plan. Next is a plumbing layout. This shows you where the dimensions and what the dimensions are and the layout of the piping. So kita niyo yung mga vertical lines. Those indicate where the pipes will convey water inside and outside of the structure. So kung potable water na, we can assign colors. Wala lang ako i-show today, but potable waters are colored blue. Wastewater are colored either gray or brown. Or sometimes orange para lang mo gawa siya unique to other drawing lines. And also in structural details, we show the foundation plan as ang mga pedestal, asan yung locate na sila. And also the beams and columns. So like the second floor framing plan. So you need to show it in your civil or structural plan. So kung 2-story, structural engineer. Kung 1-story, civil engineer. Next, these are sample specifications. This shows us the description of the scope, the plans, and also the line and grade structures for the design. So this is an example I got from architect Gemma Sarol-Simanya, one of the, I think it's no doubt one of the best architects in the city, but God bless her soul. She just died 2 to 3 years ago. So I handled one of her last projects in the city. So just one of them. And structural analysis and investigation for a 2-story residential building. This is an example. I'll teach you how you can prepare the document and how you can also consult with the structural engineer on other specific details that you wish to add in your structure. Okay? Do you have questions? Hello?
So far, so good, sir.
So far, wala?
Yes,
No
sir.
questions? No clarifications? Sige.
Ay, sir. May question, sir.
Yes.
Kanang, possible ba, sir, nga magamit taglain software except sa AutoCAD and SketchUp, sir? Nay, possibility?
No, we'll only limit to SketchUp and AutoCAD because that is available for all students. The rest, the other softwares may not be available or accessible. Like itong BIM technologies, hindi man nato ma-access for everyone.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Okay?
sir.
Sige. So I'm now showing you the result of the course registration form. And again, if you're not able to access them, I can add the link again in the chat box for your convenience. Make sure that you input your details, and I need to collect your information. And I also ask you some questions. Like this question: how ready are you for the start of the fourth quarter? Many said 1 to 3. This is the majority. So they're not yet ready. Maybe they're too tired, or maybe they don't have access to the softwares yet. I don't know on what's the reason for not being ready. But we really need to wake up to the truth that it's really the fourth quarter. So you really need to push yourselves further. Kamay na lang ako mo manang third year. And hopefully you can finish that until May of this year. Some said they're very ready. At number 5, there are 3 of them. Hopefully they're very inspired and they can spread that and make it viral rather than they're also prepared for the rest of the class. Next, how do you rate your SketchUp skills? 70 responses and about 18 said 4. That's good. You have that basic knowledge. And I hope by now that you're quite familiar with the shortcuts, and the pacing for drawing in SketchUp is quite fast. Okay, there are 0 persons who said 5, so I guess they're really not that confident yet to say that they are well equipped with SketchUp. But it's also a good number that there are students from 1 to 3, which they believe that they may have that space for learning. So that's also good. Around 39 for number 3, 10 and 3 for 2 and 1 respectively. So that's good. You still have many to learn, and hopefully you will experience that in this course. But please do note that because this is a quarterly schedule, you really need to up your game. Pasana to ang learning. Okay, we have this limitation. And if ever observe na po ang lagging na tayo mo, we can always extend, but not too much towards the summer. Kay it's also not good kung hindi na tumasabit ang grades on time. So that's for SketchUp. Next is for AutoCAD. Many said that they are good, 3 to 4. And I guess this is because you have prior knowledge from your AutoCAD course way back in your second year ba? The second year mo nag-offer on computer aided drafting. But in the drafting course that you did, wala mo good nag-draw of house. So muna isa ka limitation. Kasagara sa nag-enroll sa kanang drafting sa AutoCAD, ang ginahatag ng exercises kay mechanical, iba gears man to or a certain section. So in this subject, we're focusing on building construction. So medyo makuratan mo sa the way it's being shown to you, but the tools will be the same. The shortcuts will be the same. So you just need to increase the pacing para mahuman ninyo ang tatong 10 kabuok requirements. Next, what other drafting software do you know? Some said na TinkerArt. This is also from the other sections. Tinkercad, okay, that's good. Just make sure that you know how to save your work in .dxf or .dwg so you can access them in AutoCAD. There's SketchUp, okay, and yeah, the combination of the two. There's actually Revit structural and Revit architectural. Those are good softwares. I've tried them. They're very much graphic. And makita gini mo asa mo agi ang pipes and all. But then again, not all laptops or computers can function with that heavy requirement. So manang we go back to the very basic, just AutoCAD, okay? And don't worry if you have that kanang 0 knowledge, may nag-answer of 0 or 1 knowledge on AutoCAD here. You just need to increase the pacing in terms of your speed, or perhaps do some regularity on your AutoCAD practice. For my case, I learned AutoCAD manggod at a very young age. By the time na na-introduce ako ang computer, because my father was also a civil engineer, he already taught me how to use AutoCAD. At that time, it was AutoCAD release 12. So 12, 13, 14, 2000, 2001, until now, 2021. So naagian ako na tanan na versions. Thankfully, because my father taught me, wala na mo kabalo na para sa ito, ipadrawing ramang ko. Nalipaawatan ang kanang drafting book from college pa kung papaad ko gagamit na ako. So, I was lucky kay tumunad to, I entered college and I have that prior knowledge nga. Dali na lang sa akong AutoCAD. But you need to make up with that missing time kay I'm not telling that you need to reach at least my level, no? But just to get the minimum na you know how to draw, you know what's line, circle, where the coordinates are located, and how you can print that work. So muna mga basic na to ang kinahanglan. And it also pays that you know the skills. Okay, you can actually go abroad by just using your drafting skills. But dili lang ka engineering or dili ka tawagon as professional sa gawas. You're just a draftsman sa gawas. But a draftsman abroad pays well, 60,000. So sa Pilipinas, kung draftman ka, naka sa local government ka trabaho, you may be paid below 21,000. So you see that huge gap. So muna nga mabugos kita mag-engineer din, no? Okay. At least kung naka-ENGR, musaka imuhang sweldo as much as 10,000. So muna ang difference mo buhat sa isa lang ka license. So with that, there's also a question for rate your design skills. I wasn't specific here kung saan ang design, basic AutoCAD or kanang SketchUp or di ba kanang Photoshop inyong pagsabot, no? Pero the design that I mean here is engineering design. So like, you know how to interpret a design, like may plano, or you know how to translate what someone is trying to tell into a drawing plan. So muna ang design skill ang gusto. So I hope na you got that answer right. Doon na may nag-ingon nga 1, and good number are in the middle. So that's also good because you need to learn more. Okay, the design skills that we will be using will cover the technical design requirements and the aesthetic design requirements. So, now by questions about Anna? Or someone who wishes to share their answer to those questions? Or clarification perhaps?
Sir, di man necessary, sir, ang output kay perfect gid, sir ba?
No, dili na necessary. Ang importante lang that you know the basics, that you can apply the skills when you fully become an engineer soon. Okay, medyo kanang degrading ba sa personality mo kung engineer na ka, nagtrabaho ka, tapos kitagaan ka plano doing mo, di ka kabalo. So, masada ng andam kadaan. Okay, dili manggani part sa board exam ang building systems design. Pero, pag trabaho ni mo, ulawan mo ka o di ka kabaluan ni. Maskin pag cum laude ka, maskin pa o board top notcher ka, pero di ka kabalo og drawing of structural detail, ulawan gid ka. And it pays well kung kabalo ka ani. Kaya you can reach the dream of being a designer. Kasagara may sa ato civil engineer, ang dream manggit is yung structural, di ba? And money is there, but you need to have the basic skill of drafting. So you can translate the things that the client wants and draw it in terms of a standard, which is through building plans. Any other question?
Sir,
Ay, ladies first.
Sir, yung sa AutoCAD po, okay lang po ba like 2018 yung version or kailangan yung latest?
Okay lang na any version. Di man po kayo go specific on that kay. Kung mo request ta og newer version, di naman na mudagan sa laptop. Kung di ka na hinay siya og specs, no? So any version.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Next, si Kent ba to? Other question?
Yes, sir. Sir, kailangan yung ba license yung as engineer kung might yung tag ka ng AutoCAD design or something?
Interesting question. Sa country nato, naamay gitawag na scope of practice. So, appeal sa scope sa civil engineer nga dapat nasa lisensya para mo-perform sa trabaho. Pero, pwede man gihapon, dili ka lisensyado, i-prepare ni mo ni siya, but you follow the standard. It's just that you're not licensed, diba? It's allowed. But, you cannot somehow request or cannot bitawang put a higher price on your work because you're not licensed. Wala gina siyang disadvantage. Wala kay lisensya, gamay rin mong makolek, gamay rin mong ma-charge. Pero lisensyado ka because it's part of your work, you can really fight for it that you get a higher fee. And also, when legality is in concern, kung kinsa ang pwede mo dala sa pangalan na plano when it's approved, it should be the licensed professional. So, ang gabuhaton sa uban, gi-prepare or gi-draw sa dili lisensyado, ipa-approve dahil sa lisensyado. So, the liability of the building will go to the person who has the license. Dili siya mo padulong sa walay lisensya. Mukod na isa ka disadvantage.
So, pwede lang ba siya, kung as a student kami sir, pwede lang ba may makatabang pa, or?
Pwede, pwede mo makadraw, pwede man mo mag-draftsman. Start mo gina sa atong work, draftsman ta. Pwede makapangayo ng fee na may minimum man ang taripa. But mula gito, di ka ka-request of dako. Na limitation.
Okay sir. Thank you.
Napay man pangutana? Aubrey Braga, you raised a hand. Please turn on your mic.
Lahi man ang pamaagi if kani kay structural man sir, diba? What if kung transpo, let's say for example mag-design of bridge for example, lahi na iyang flow, sir?
Yes, lahi siya. Kay ang building system design nato na subject covers only the residential design. Ito mo lang pinaka-basic sa tanan. So if you plan to build a bridge, you need to take further studies. Or you get hired by a firm or construction firm that does building or specialized construction. Say, bridge, tunnel, dito gid ka mo sulod. Kaya kung basic lang ka nga license na civil, balay gid ang pinaka-basic or commercial building. Pero dili ka basta-basta maka-design of bridge. Mangita na sila o napakay credentials, ngitag masteral, ngitag doctoral, or mangita ba kag-affiliation nimo na member ka sa structural engineers or nakay prior experience pa ka na sakto gid nga record na naka-design kag may nani nga mga building. So, pinala mo na i-present. Interrogar mo na pag-approve sa kanang drawing. Pag-submit nimo sa DP or pag-submit nimo sa UBO, kinahanglan man na i-check ang imong pong credibility as an engineer.
Sabdan sir, salamat sir.
Okay. Naapay pangutana? Okay. So it seems wala na. So I'll proceed to your e-learn page to show you the contents. Okay. I encourage everyone to visit the page and take note of the contents. Okay. I just updated it a while ago, so there might be some contents na wala mo na inform. So this is for section B4. Let's try to view it as a student. Okay. So once you go over the contents, there are still three main sub-components. Main course page, course introduction, and topography and site selection. So please go to main course page first, and then try to visit the about the course page. You start there, and then you move towards the welcome message, so you know what the subject is and also the location of the schedule of synchronous sessions. Naradiratanan. And after your registration sa katong form, I can now send your emails per section. Okay, parang mag-group ginatog-tarong siya. There's also a little introduction about myself, but that is not really important unless you have or you were not my student in the past subjects. There's an activity here for introduction of yourself. So please add a discussion topic and please drop by and introduce yourself, just the basic things about you. And also share your insights on the question, what is civil engineering design in the contemporary world? And comment on any one of your classmates' answer. So minimum of 1 comment lang, but make sure it's outside of your work. Ayaw nga comment kasi mo own work. Other person's work, comment on it. Add some insights, add some discussion, steer the conversation. So that's a requirement for you. Next, there is also an announcement section. I usually post schedules here and some reminders and instructions either through the announcement page or through an email. So either way, just look for it para ma-access niyo ang general news and announcements. Questions about the course, I added the first one. What are the necessary software for the course? It's SketchUp and AutoCAD. So you can go over here every time there's a repeating question. I usually post the answers here so everyone can get to see the response to that. Support, these are just links of other sites you can visit. Course description, I've already added it from the lecture of the slides today, and you can explore the contents here. It can be updated. I'll just inform you if may dugang, or you can also check the last modified section in the bottom. It shows you the last time it was edited. Okay. Next is course outline. This discusses the contents of the laboratory. I also added, or will be adding the contents for lecture. So make sure lang you check the section below. There's a last modified section, and every time you need to access them. Also the CLOs, wala pa ko nagbutang o kanang course syllabus. So next week, it's part of requirement to read the course syllabus and sign the last page affirming that you receive and acknowledge the contents of the course. For the course requirement and outputs, muna siya ang basic. This can also be updated in every time na ako i-add or i-change baka. So make sure you look for the contents last modified in the bottom. Grading system and policy, again, this is not yet final, but this is the general overview of how your grade will look like. Your midterm will cover assignments, online quizzes, middays, and class participation, and their corresponding rates are here. So mas dako gid og score from your midterm grades. Same for finals, and for your final exam or output, I need to collect the compilation of the plates, the specifications, and also the dummy building permit and occupancy permit. So diri nato na siya makita sa ubos. There's also a section for schedule of synchronous sessions. So either you check from your email, or kung wala gid naka-receive sa email, check from time to time here para makabalo mo when is the next synchronous session and for you to get the link of that meeting. And I'll be using Google Meet for that. By this time code, because you already registered in the course registration form, I can now access your emails. So if ever na dili mo maka-receive, just inform me ahead of time para dili mo mawala until the end of the course. This is the second requirement that I need from you. This is the course learning contract. So like a student man, hindi na ako makita kinsa ang nag-submit, but make sure that you made the submission. You can print out the document and sign, or download the document and fix your digital signature and send the copy in PDF form. Then that will be part of your class participation. So make sure na ma-comply din yun na. Deadline for this one is March 6, 2 days from now. So for today, I also placed here a short player. So in Ignatian schools, we're taught to do an examen, no? every time we do something, every time we need to start something or embark on something, we need to pray. So if ever you're lost in words and what to pray, just get back here, and these are the basic things that we need to ask for to the Lord in especially at the time of COVID-19. So just get back here every time you need some space and time with the Lord. Sunara na din. Next is the course registration form. Hopefully you filled this earlier. If not, you can also find it in the e-learn page. So this will link you to an open resource. Next is the link of software requirements. You can access the links, and the instructions are also provided on how you can get the license using educational free license for 1 year. So narada sa links. And then for your first laboratory exercise. So I'll show you now how you can create your first exercise using SketchUp, the free version using web-based, and what are the requirements for that. So first, you need to do a measurement of the spacing of your own home. Okay. So what are the bounds of this one? First, draw just the first floor. Kung multi-story ang balay, 2-story and up. For this exercise alone, just draw the first floor. So na at least ang kitchen, na at least ang bedroom, comfort room, and just the interior lang sa. Okay, we need to draw the as-built plan of that. So make sure that you have these contents na bedroom, kitchen, dining, comfort room, or kung ang inyong main house ang naa sa second floor mo, uni sila. So ang second floor pwede mo i-draw. Make sure lang na naani sila ng mga kanang rooms inside that drawing. And I only need to collect a SketchUp file of your work. So how would the work look like? So I'll show you now using the link of SketchUp. So you can just go over the personal account link in the content. So SketchUp Online utilizes the web-based version, so you don't need to install, and it's cloud-based, so you don't need to save from time to time. It's automatically saved in your cloud account. So once you have access to that, you can log in using your Gmail account or your my.xu.edu.ph account, because that runs on Google. So magamit lagi ako na. So to start a project, just go to create new, and then make sure the simple template in meters is enabled. In the actual practice of your profession, you will be using meters and English. Sabi na ang mga panday, mga mason, they don't have kanang formal education. And what they know from the field is ang measurement nila naka-English. So like ang size sa door, ang katason sa or cutting sa kahoy, naka-English na siya. So make sure that you also know the feet and inches ng measurement, and also draw them in meters. We can't make do of a construction without the use of these two systems. Okay? Mumang ko'y napasa sa atua. Kung muadto ka sa pinaka umoy sa Pilipinas, ang natudlo man sa Spanish kay ang numero nila ay naka feet and inches. Labi na sa measurement. So, di mo man kaya nga magamit ka na. Pero pag approve sa plano, pag padulong sa kanang legal nga matters, meters man, so gamiton gid mo ang buka na system. So you can start with a simple template using meters. So left click lang. And you will be greeted by this familiar face of SketchUp. So the model here is Lucy. She has been here for quite some time, though the previous versions tried to introduce a male model, but the original is being retained now. Her name is Lucy. So Lucy needs to be placed there for spacing and scaling requirements. So dapat na siya dira. And when you start your drawing, because you're doing measurements of your own home, let's just assume na sa kanya nga akong issue is rectangular, no? Pero sa inyong actual, dagan siguro ng corners or irregular ang shape. So make sure lang na ma-draw ninyo ang actual shape. Draw it by hand first before you convert it to a SketchUp drawing. So when we draw in SketchUp, you can make use of the mouse scroll and also the shortcuts. So shortcuts in your keyboard and also the left panel. Na may nag-raise hand? Mitingog man to. Wala? Okay, sige, padayon po. So when you start your drawing, let's just say that in this exercise, you're using a 9x7 house. So that's roughly 9x7 is 54 square meters. Medyo small, no? Pero muna siya ang mga sizes pag naaka sa subdivision ni ginagmay. So we'll start with the rectangle. So when you use the rectangle function, you can either use the panels here sa left. So go and find the rectangle part here, or just press R sa keyboard. That means rectangle yapon. And when you draw, start from the origin. Why from the origin? In case nga mawala ka sa imong pagtuyok-tuyok sa orbit, you can always go back sa origin. So important thing na diya ka sa origin. So from this part, left click, and then choose an axis or quadrant where you want your drawing to belong. By rule of thumb, you should use the first quadrant, which is the red and green part. Okay. You can also draw from the other sides, but that doesn't give you an orientation later mo as ang north and south. So masyada nga diri ka sa first quadrant. Okay. It's give you the proper orientation of your house. So just key in 9,7. That means 9x7 meters. And then press enter. Okay. Next, you will notice nga na ang kaning rectangular shape. And make use lang of the zoom tool sa imong mouse and the pan tool by pressing the scroll longer and then moving it a little towards your object. Okay, so para ma-orbit mo siya. And to move them, you can use i-move man mo tanan P command. H lang na command. Sa AutoCAD ako natimanan. H is the hand tool where you can move your object. Okay, or your view. So, move na ako from left to right here. And then zoom using your mouse. Okay, para lang ma-position siya og tarong. Okay. Next, by default, in SketchUp, a white surface is the front face. A blue surface is the back face. So you need to reverse this first para white tanan mo appear. To do that, you can use the select button in the panel. So na select button diri. Or you can use the space bar in your keyboard. Pareha na. So to reverse this face, you can either left click it first or you can also right click it. Then look for the reverse face option. What it does is it reverses the face and turns it to white. Umaning atong front nga part. The blue is the back part. Para uniform lang. Okay. After that, this actually gives us the boundary of the house. For example lang if it's rectangle. But if it's irregular, then you need to draw the layout using the actual dimensions that you have. So we need to create the wall. The wall can be drawn using the offset command. So you either use F in your keyboard or look for this panel, offset, under you have offset. So dagan man gud na push and pull na apoy curves. So look for offset. So just select the space inside the rectangle, left click, and then move your mouse a little bit. Okay? Para magawas ang offset na drawing. From there, you need to input the thickness of the wall. So normally it's 0.10 one story. Pero load bearing na siya baga 0.15. So I'll just use here 0.10 or 0.1 meters. Okay? Then press enter. Okay? After that, you now have that boundary sa wall, di ba? Klaro kaya na siya thickness. Then naapod kay certain shapes sa sulod which could represent your floor. So what we need to do next is raise the height of this floor and the wall to create a boundary sa imuhang kanang exterior. So what you can use is your push and pull command. So that's P from your keyboard. You can also look for it in the left panel and use push and pull. Okay? So we need to raise the floor first. So left click on the floor. Move your mouse a little further forward, and then input the thickness. We will still use 0.10 meters. Okay. Next, you need to raise the wall, and the height should be the same with your floor. Okay? Kaya man ang reference nato sa height. Kung may ikaw floor to ceiling height, it's the top of the floor, bottom of the ceiling. Okay? Next, kaning atong wall, we need to raise it further to the standard height, which is at 2.7 meters. So isa ka na to ni from this edge sa kata at 2.7 meters. So hopefully you can see the input of the values. It's found in the lower right kanina diri o sa ubos. Di man ako ma-show, hindi mo siya ma-highlight, but that's where you input your numbers. So 2.7 and then press enter. Okay? So after that, because it's an as-built plan, just showing the layouts where the doors, windows, and other spaces are located, we just need to indicate the holes for the door, window, and other instances. So I'm using the orbit command by dragging lang my drawing towards this section, okay? And then zooming it out a little bit. And panning the movement para makita lang ako ng akong location where I desire to put a door and 2 windows. So in SketchUp, there are markers. So di pareha sa AutoCAD, may mo pang enable dire, naka-enable na sa daan. So we can trace here where the door will be located together with the 2 windows. So we can use the L command, okay? Or you can also look for that line tool in the left panel. So we can use that one here to draw the panel. So the panel of the door, or shall we say door frame, will be indicated in this midpoint. And for simplicity's sake, we will use a symmetrical kanang drawing. So by using the markers from the midpoint, I'll draw the height of the door. So it should be vertical using the blue line. So makita mo niyo pag i-move niyo ng line, mugawas ng blue line. That indicates that it's aligned in the blue axis. So I'll now input the height of the door. Using the building code, it should be 2.1 meters from the top of the floor. So 2.1. And then I'll say this is a double door. And in doors, the minimum width should be 0.9 meters. But since it's a double door, pwede ko mag 0.6 on one side and 0.6 on the other side. Para maka-create ko og double na panel. Okay? And then, ang nakatsada sa SketchUp is ma-remember niya ang imong last nga command. So like this one, if I draw from this part and then draw it here, automatically makopy niya ang last nga dimension. So you don't need to input the kanang distance every time. After that, you can erase the line in the middle, and then you can use the push and pull command to draw a hole on the door. So like this one, ato ding i-align siya sa outer wall by using the left click sa mouse. You can then create the hole on that door. Okay? So I'll just increase the pace a little bit. I'll draw the window. So ako lang i-zoom gamay. So sa window, again, let's use a symmetrical kanang orientation. So from this marker, from the midpoint, I'll draw up at 0.9 meters and then draw the dimension of this window. I'll use 0.6 here and also 1.2 towards the other side. So meaning 0.6 plus 0.6 is 1.2. And then the height, si SketchUp sub can remember boundaries. So kung imo siyang ipatunong diri, pwede rin mo na mag-drag a little bit para di na ka mag-input of number. And from there, mas easier na lang to create a rectangle para sa yun rin mo ang pag-draw ng hole later. Also, SketchUp can remember or copy rather one function to the next easily para dali na lang ang iyong pag-draw. So like this one, I can select this window and then move this. And by moving, you can actually copy it by pressing CTRL in your keyboard. So mas dali na lang nimo i-move and copy. Okay? And after that, i-erase na lang nimo itong mga lines and then push and pull. You can now create another hole on your window. You can also make use of the memory of SketchUp. So like adto, gusto na ko nga same akong kanang depth sa pag-push and pull ani, double click na lang nimo para matimanan niyo. Okay? So, munang mas dali mag-draw sa SketchUp basta spacing. Okay? So now, you have that door and 2 windows. Next, let's try to draw a room. Right? So, depende na sa inyong drawing ng sa room, the more complicated your house is, the more difficult the exercise is. So, make use of those limitations na lang sa inyong drawing. If you have a copy of your building plans sa balay, mas maayo, pinaka-guide. Kaya di na ka magsukod-sukod. So, we can make use of the line command here. Let's try to draw a room in the midpoint and move it further using the guideline of red at 3 meters. Okay? And then draw the other length of the room here. So, mas dali na lang, di ba? And then use the offset command using 0.10 again as my thickness. Okay? And then I can remove some of the lines na unnecessary. Okay? Like this one, may double na ang wall. So ako lang i-remove na siya. Okay? After that, just copy the push and pull for that section and increase the height. So, dali na lang mag-draw of room. Next, we'll draw a section here for the door. So ako lang increase ko my facing. I can use my usual function of 0.3, the height of 2.1, and the width of 0.9. Okay? And create a hole. Kumari na ako ang door. Next, windows. This side and this side. So first, draw a line using the guides or markers. Draw the height at 0.9, the width of 0.6 on one side, and then 1.2 on the other side. The height, I can use 1.2. Okay, para 2 siya sa door. Okay, di ba? 0.9 plus 1.2 is 2.1. Okay? Now, don't worry if you can't follow yet. Okay, this is a demo, how you can use the tools. You can rewatch the video later para makuha ninyo ang exact na dimensions. Okay, in this part, I'll raise it to 0.9, the width of 0.6 here, and then 1.2 on the other side. And the height at 1.2, then create a rectangle. So see, I can easily create a hole for my window. Bangag lang ni siya, then later we'll make use of the components to add whether it's a jalousie window, a sliding window, or even if it's an awning type of window. Okay? So you see, na naka-yung bedroom. Next, let's create a comfort room on this side. So just create a line. Okay? And then create the dimension for the wall. You can make use of offset, pero kalas mag-oras na ka-edison ang tulo ka line. So para sa yun, just create a line here at 0.1 and then draw it towards the other side and raise it further to the height of the wall. Okay, so see, mas dali na lang. On this side, I'll use 0.3. No, 0.3 man, sir. That's the kanang width of a hollow block. So munang gamit siya, nakabulok ka sa dimensions. And then the width of this door can be smaller, so I can use 0.6. Create a hole, bam, nanapod ko yung door for my bathroom. Next, the bathroom's floor should be lower than your main floor. Okay? Para pag may magbasa dire, dili mo banaw sa sulod sa balay. Meaning, dili mo flow out ang water. So you can raise it down by using the push and pull command and select, but make sure that the movement is not forward but backward, parang down siya. And use the command 0.05. Muna, og na din na siya. So you see nga na siya difference in kanang thickness. So zooming out, this is now my initial as-built plan for the house. If you want, you can also add more windows. So I'll just increase the pace here. Oops, okay. Okay, 0.6. I'm just using symmetrical ng mga dimensions here. It pays a lot kung mag-symmetrical mo kay pag mag-istorya na mo sa layout sa inyong kanang balay, Sayon ra ang cutting sa glass. Okay, naka 3.3 mo na kay English ang ilang gamit. So like that, so makadraw ra ka. On the other side, I'll use the point na side. Okay, and then here, you see repetitive ang command, and you can increase the pace if you're now confident with your skills sa SketchUp. Okay. Okay. So, bangag lang sa kay as build plan na ni. You don't need to draw all the other elements yet. Then later sa next atong exercise, you will add components. You will also add other necessary objects like ang roofing, ang ceiling, ang doors, ang panels, etc., ang color. That will be for the next exercise. For now, I just want you to draw the layout of the house like this one. Yan na ang mga bagam sa door and window and the proper positioning of those rooms from the bedroom, the comfort room, and then your dining kitchen or whichever you have inside that space. Okay.
Sir,
Now,
question.
yes.
Sir, kanang ang as-built plan, sir, pwede na kanang i-use siya sa mga next exercises, like i-continue lang ang mga process.
Yes, pwede man. Your springboard, dito ka mag-start for your actual design.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next question.
Sir, katong pag-copy nimo sa Windows, sir, Control C ra nimo, sir?
Dili, CTRL lang. Walay C. Kanang control ba? Walay C. Control lang. Mo automatic na siya copy sa na-select na object. Next question.
Ano sa mga standard dimensions sa living room or second CR, bedroom?
Sige. You will learn this in the next lecture. Mag-discuss man ta on the building code. But I'll kanang tell you the minimum requirements. Pero don't expect na ma-follow ni siya sa inyong balay. Okay? Inyong balay manggod, I'm not sure if it was built when the building code was implemented, especially if before the building code, 1980s man ang building code. So kung before, pwede rin na siya. Pero kung na-build siya after 1980s, it should follow the building code. So in the building code, the minimum dimension of any room should not be less than 2 meters. And the minimum area of that room should not be less than 6 square meters. So tanawa ganin yung mga rooms, di ba, gagmay. Dili na siya actually pasar sa building code. So kung magkinaunsa, masunog, digid na siya mo pasar. Kamo pa pa-penalty sa kanang LGU ana kung magkinaunsa. So pero i-discuss pa nato na ha, naghatag lang ko og minimum na requirements karon in case nga gamitin ninyo sa as-built plan ninyo.
Thank you, sir.
Next. Naapay pangutana. Okay. By the way, when you save your work, make sure to add the course code like this one. Inani ang standard pag-save. It should be CE20.laboratory number 1. Okay. I'll add a letter B. Okay, this is for B4, but in your work, you may opt to remove the B. Okay, nanamog ko na save from the other sections. So once you save here, you can then have an option to download it using 2021 version. Then you need to upload this one in eLearn. So pag press mo OK, ma-save na siya automatic sa inyong computer. Dahil pwede ninyo na siya ma-upload sa eLearn for submission. Okay na? Naa pa ba yung question? So I'll stop the recording now.